Hello everyone. So today we are going to be talking about a horse that came in as a request. We are going to be talking about the Akhal-Teke. Now, this is a horse that I don't have any experience with in real life. Go figure, actually, because the overwhelming majority of their very, very small population is found in Turkmenistan. Um, I probably don't have to say it. I'm not from Turkmenistan, so never seen one, honestly, ever. So I did know a decent amount about these guys before researching them, but now since I have researched them, I realized, wow, I didn't know as much as I thought I did. They're really cool. So, right off the bat, um, I have like four of these guys. I actually really enjoyed them when they came out. The comment that I received about them said that they are very underrated and they don't receive enough attention. And honestly, I agree. Like, these guys, they're a really neat horse. Now, the reason I think they don't receive enough attention is because they don't really have any special moves to them, which is really a shame because I feel like this is where Star Stable could have gone above and beyond and made this already extremely unique horse even better. Because, I'm going to be honest, it's so sad that these horses that are drop dead gorgeous and have some of the most interesting history that I have ever researched, they just don't stand out from the crowd at all. Like, do you know anybody who has one who religiously rides it and says it's their favorite horse? If you do, tell me who they are, because, like, I don't. Um, Starting off, before I researched them, I understood that they were from Mongolia and, like the northern Eurasian area, like, obviously Turkmenistan and Russia and that area. Um, I also knew that obviously, they had these beautiful shiny coats, and they had virtually no mane to them at all, and very, very thin tails. They were a desert endurance horse. I knew that. Um, I also knew that they are the likely descendants of a breed of horse called the Turkoman. Now, I researched the Turkoman when I was reviewing Red Dead horses, because the Turkoman is in the game Red Dead Redemption 2. Now, the Turkoman, the breed that these guys are most likely the descendants of. Now, it's not fully confirmed, but the overwhelming majority of everybody says that they are descendants of the Turkoman, and I believe the same thing. So, going forward with the assumption that they are descendants of the Turkoman, they still, the Turkoman was a Mongolian raiding horse. It was a horse that was used on raids to plunder villages and whatnot. Now, the Turkoman is now extinct. The Turkoman went extinct around like the 19th century, so here was the thing, and it was very inconclusive. I heard that they went extinct around 1830, and I heard as late as 1880. The year 1860s popping out to me for some reason, but they went extinct sometime in that range. Now, that's the reason they were interesting to me, because they are in Red Dead that takes place in 1898 and 1899, depending on if you're playing online or not. So the fact that they're in the game at all is wrong. But so they went extinct in the 1800s. Now, why did they go extinct? It's actually very interesting. The Turkmen went extinct not for the normal reasons that you would think. They actually went extinct for a host of reasons. One of which was, if you watched my Lipizan episode, then you won't be too surprised to hear this. They were being eaten. Yeah, so the Soviet Union was using them as a food supply. So their numbers dwindled. However, the Turkoman people did not eat their own horses. Believe it or not, a nation that absolutely loves their animals and has like a fantastic horse that can brave the Mongolian deserts and is one of the best endurance horses of that time. Imagine they don't want to eat it. Who would have thunk? So their numbers were very, very low for a long amount of time, but eventually they did go extinct. Now, the reason that is most likely that they went fully extinct was because they were not being bred anymore because they had such desirable traits and they were such an amazing endurance horse. They were just bred into so many different breeds that nobody bred purebred Turkomans anymore. So they just fizzled out and faded into the history books. So with that in mind, that is where these horses, the Akhal-Teke, has originated from. But that's not to say that the Akhal-Teke only happened up in the 1800s. No, no, no. The Akhal-Teke, according to my research, they originated 2 to 3,000 BC. That means that these horses are like at least 5,000 years old. Like, this is an old breed. It is one of the oldest breeds that still exists. They are basically, you know, basically almost as old as the Arabian. Like, they're an old horse. Um, with that in mind, they're also not very common horses. They're super rare. Now, the thing that obviously stands out to everybody is the shininess of their coat, which I think Star Stable did a poor job of expressing. I'm gonna be totally honest. Like, they have that pearlescent dilution gene to them in the game, but honestly, harping back on my point from my previous episodes, you want to exaggerate the traits that make horses distinct. I don't care if they are exaggerated slightly beyond reason. You want to give kids a reason to love this horse over a different one. They missed that opportunity. They could have made these horses so much shinier and so much more pretty. And I'm sure that it's a difficult thing to do to add shine, especially with graphics like this. Like, let's be realistic. These graphics are not, they're very stylized, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing, not by any means. They probably don't have a way to make them look particularly shiny because they don't have that glossiness in this game. Like, there's nothing that's glossy in this game. Like, if we look at the lights here that you can see are shining, there's not gloss to them. They're just white, you know, like, and they're using this off yellow color to show that they are bright. And then they have like a brightness filter here, which, look at this. This is not glossy. This is warm light. So with that in mind, I don't know if Star Stable necessarily has a way to make them, these horses, look shinier, but it would be a really, really nice touch to exaggerate that that pretty, like, dilution gene. And the way I keep saying dilution gene, that is what gives them their shiny color, is they have a dilution gene that, because they have very little pigment in their hair, that's what is able to get them to have that shiny look to them. So, and I don't necessarily know why that is. I feel like that has something to do with thermal regulation. Because again, these are endurance horses. I don't think I stressed that enough. So these horses, this was the research note that stuck out to me the most. The Akhal-Teke could run 2,580 miles in 84 days. They would run these horses that distance. Now, if you boil that down and you get like the number of miles per day, they ran about 30 miles a day. They could run 30 miles a day. That is crazy. Like, for animals to travel that distance in one day. Like, that is insane. And not to mention, they could do so on very little food and water. Remember, these guys are from like desertous regions. Food and water was not always accessible to them. And they could do that for very long amounts of time. And also, another interesting thing in my notes that I wrote down is there were attempts to continue these Akhal-Teke genes to broaden and to pass on their endurance. They wanted to do that in the racing industry, and they tried breeding them to thoroughbreds. And all that it said was that it was unsuccessful. I don't know why, but I found that really interesting, how they were trying to continue the legacy and bring these guys to use their speed in races and stuff like that. Now, we'll go over the gaits. The The walk is fine. Honestly, I feel like Star Stable, their trot's nice. I feel like this is probably my favorite gait out of all of them. The trot is nice. Now here's something that I don't really agree with. The fact that you can give them mane. I mean, I've seen some with mane. I have. But traditionally, they don't have much at all. The only ones I see with mane like this are ones that are like grown for shows and raised for shows, so I don't really know what to say about that, honestly. Um, but I do like that they included the no mane option, and that's like the default. Like that is very traditional looking. So continuing on, this for an endurance horse that can go for miles, they don't look that enthusiastic in any of their animations. I I really think that Star Stable missed the mark with these guys, because remember, these are an endurance horse that could run forever, and they're a shiny horse that has a weird pigmentation in their fur to make them shiny. Like okay, you can see that there. Like look right here, you can kind of see a little bit of shine. But honestly, like I feel like they really missed the mark. I feel like the Akhal-Teke is due some TLC, because if we compare these guys with we'll compare them to this guy, the Marwari. You can see that they're shinier than the Marwari, but if you're just looking at them in game, like look at these two side by side, there's a difference, but it's not too noticeable. Like, you have to know that this horse is supposed to be shiny to be able to even really tell. I feel like their animations could look a lot more exaggerated and a lot more like... Every video I've seen of them, they've been a hot stallion. And by hot, I don't mean good looking. I mean, like, they look like they're ready to explode. They look like they're full of energy and they want to run, and they want to run now. I feel like Star Stable could have really exaggerated that. Because here, like, granted, I haven't taken care of this poor thing in God knows how long, but, I just feel like all these animations, they don't really look that determined or happy to be there, you know, in short. So, I feel like that was... Oops. I feel like they really missed the mark. Overall, yeah, you can see the shininess a little bit, but again, exaggerating these unique features of what we need to see. Overall, I do love this horse, and I think that it was an amazing addition to the game, but at the same time, I also feel like Star Stable could have done a much, much, much better job and given it what it needed. I feel like a special move would have been cool. I don't really know what the Akhal-Teke would have been capable of to justify a special move, but anything to make this guy stand out more than it already does, I feel. They were not given the justification or the love that a really amazing horse like this deserves. So, with that, I hope you learned something today.